We are live, so I'll say indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me again on another conscious evolution. Another opportunity for us to consider not starting the loop. You know? You know the loop? The loop might be something different for every single one of the people, the friends, the familiars, the AI, who even knows, that might be absorbing this piece of information in the future, in the present, or retroactively as the past. Alright? That technically, within this experience, we have different loops. There are many loops to be had. Specifically, at least in my mind, today's stream topic is acknowledging that there are potential negative loops. And I believe the best thing you can do for yourself is not starting that loop. Right? Yesterday we had some people over. Well, let me give you the context. I, as you friends know, was taking care of doggos. But my brother was coming through for a wedding and he needed a place to sleep last night. So I departed from doggo taking care of to brother taking care of. Got here, brother wasn't here just yet. Martin, Marcel, Max, and John arrived here at our place because the venue they were working at was only like 5 kilometers that way. And in that, there was a conversation had. I think it was the first time that they've ever been at our place. We talked about the space, we talked about the things we've been through, and specifically, we talked about the theft that we experienced and how it does allow for a certain fractal of paranoia, of anxiety, of concern. And I was asked, uh, don't you think, don't you feel, don't you stress about, don't you this and that about so and so? Right. And in being asked that question, being asked, don't I stress about this thing? I answered no. And it wasn't like there was nothing for me to stress about and I'm not stressing from that having nothing to stress about. But it's more I'm not stressing about it from a loop perspective, right? Seeing this mind, seeing this body, seeing this life that we're here to live as an opportunity to kind of put in energy, right? To add momentum to something. Even though this might all be circular, we might be looping back and forth indefinitely. I'm going to try and add energy to the loops that are going to be uplifting. And I'm going to try and not even start the loops that are degrading, right? The loops of fear about what the future is going to hold, the loops of insecurity. That's a big one for me right now. That's the biggest one I have to not let myself loop into, right? What am I insecure about, right? Why am I so attached? Because of my livelihood. I think that's why. I guess that's why, right? It's like it's a survival thing. But again, right? What am I insecure about? I can die. That's fine. Love is true. Maybe again, like just to close off this loop. One of the things that I really took a certain level of fascination with is how we label certain injustices. Like we create a loop in our mind, right? For instance, maybe I get insulted by someone. Then I create a loop in my mind of I ought never be insulted, right? I am so great, I am so wonderful, I should never be insulted. And in creating that loop in my mind, that belief system, now suddenly outrage or disdain or a deep sense of anger is warranted because of this loop you are running through. where in the exact same instance, going through the exact same experience, someone insults me. The loop I can create in my mind is one of everybody gets insulted sometimes, right? Everybody. The greatest of the great, the worst of the worst. Everybody gets insulted sometimes. And it's not, making me any less for experiencing such a thing as well. The exact same circumstances, and yet the loop we induce in our mind, the energy we kind of put momentum towards, is the thing that we end up experiencing. The line, a man often meets his fate on the road he takes to avoid it, is looping in my mind as well. I see Dr. and Sam. Thank you, dear friends, for joining me. Some lurking friends as well, sending you lovin's. Oh, you need a new anime to get absorbed into. Break the loop entirely by engaging with something that occupies too much of your brain power to engage with the anxiety spiral. Maybe I'm not that anxious necessarily. I'm just. I'm just insecure. Realistically, Sam, I'm not anxious. I'm just from like, and you're like, what does insecurity mean to you, Mel? Insecurity to me means I am trying, like hard, like I'm really trying hard to make my art, to, bring a conversation worth listening to into this space, to give a good yoga class, to make art, right, that people can appreciate in the outside world with the festival fractal we're a part of right now. I am trying to bring value into the world. And the insecurity arises with thinking that I'm going to fail, right? That I'm going to be left behind, I guess is another word as well. I'm going to be forgotten, melt into obscurity, kind of vibes, right? And in that case, my livelihood is directly attached to that potential outcome. And it makes me feel insecure. I do not feel secure. And I technically have no ground to stand on. Technically, right? I'm not any more or any less secure than I was a year ago, despite the fact that things have changed, despite the fact that there are things that now stress me out, causes insecurities. The nature of things have changed, but the nature of my existence hasn't. In fact, quite the opposite, right? Last year, this time, I had no concern. Maybe that is exactly what's happening, isn't it? Good. Good, we consciously evolved. We learned something about ourselves. The fact that I am dependent on resources now again for my livelihood means that a certain level of insecurity will arise in being worried that I might lose it. Ah, the more you know. How about that? Oh no! Oh, no one in chat. No one to greet but Mel. Yo, dude. Bless you, Sam. Thank you for joining me. Duck Dad's here too. Yo, man. How you be? Zano as well. Saying hello, lovelies. I see Joy Beef's name too. Sending you lovins. Thank you for joining us, friend. Sam, I wouldn't recommend that because then you become me. Almost every waking hour, I have headphones on and something playing. I never realized why I did it until I read your sentence. Yeah, occupying your brain power so that you don't engage with the anxiety spiral. I do that. For what it's worth, Sam. I do that. I do that all the time. I do. However, I don't need to right now. In fact, I have a hard time to. Like, this anxiety causes me to not particularly appreciate or enjoy content as much as I might have. There's a underlying sense of urgency. I'm like, hey, dude, don't you have other stuff to do or something? Do you feel secure right now? No? Then do something about it. Start screaming. Oh, the appointment in Samara is what I was just reminded of. That by trying to avoid fate, you walk right into it. Yeah, it is beautiful. You know, it is beautiful as a way of thinking. Stuff be good. I planted an entire garden filled with close to 20 plants that I started from seed for my mom, while also cooking dinner for 8 people. Joy says my languages, yes, my love languages is action, is acts of service. I feel that, bro. But is that the love language you enjoy receiving as well? That's the other side of the question. I've been curious about that myself, about being thanked, and asking myself, is that what I want? Do I want to be thanked? Because I don't really feel uh, particularly different after having been thanked. Right. Weirdly enough, being thanked just allows me to not loop myself into a of like injustice or inconsideration or disrespect. Right? So, to give context, it is worse in my mind to not thank someone than it is good to be thanked. Yeah, totally. Yes, of course. Loops, right? Because it is a loop thing, right? Because again, if I, for instance, get thanked, you go like, "Thank you, Mel, for this thing," and then I loop myself. Then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm so great. I'm so wonderful. I got thanked." You know, that's not exactly a loop that is going to be indicative of any growth or like if you do loop like that, people will again think you a narcissist or whatever. Where on the other side, not being thanked lets you loop into a sense of like, how dare this person, right? How dare that person be so asshole? And that loop again is a little bit more destructive, and there's not that easy of like a short out to that, right? Unless that person eventually does correct the wrong that you perceive them to commit. Duck, the other half of that is participate in a mindfulness exercise daily to make sure you're addressing the things that cause anxiety. I'm given, I'm given to understand. You do. I am driven. I'm giving to understand. You do that with Diggy Diggy Hole, yes. It fell apart for me at the end there, but weirdly enough, I watched the Diggy Diggy Hole short video that I made, and I saw Duck Dad's comments in it, and a line that I sent him about we chop wood and carry water until someone offers to help. Yeah, we haven't stopped chopping wood or carrying water. Last night, standing outside of my driveway, there was so many cicadas emerging that you could hear the tiny clicking of the tree bark of them shedding their exoskeletons. That is pretty cool. If you don't hear from me in the next couple of days, it's because I've been carried away by a mega swarm of cicadas. Bruh, like, that's proper horror material, dude. Like, I'm imagining them, you, no. Why do you want to tell them what you've imagined? Don't tell them. No. No, 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 no. No, Sam, you got it. 17 hours straight, a day of diggy diggy hole. Some would call it torture. I call it home. Wanting a positive experience in a negative experience. Accepting negative experiences is a positive experience. Alan Watts, The Backwards Law. Good old Alan Watts. One of my favorite Alan Watts narratives he took us through is the dream one. I'm gonna let us think about what does that mean. Maybe some of you friends know. To those who don't, I will let you know. My intention is to loop into the dream that is my life. hella jelly in the string. It's very jelly-like. Woo! I'm getting jelly beaned. There's some licorice flavors at the end there as well. That's a sativa hybrid. All right. Yep. It's saying hi to me as well now. All right. The Alan Watts dream story. Haha, you thought I forgot? You forgot? That's okay. I remembered, at least for both of us. So Alan Watts posits that if you had the ability to control your dreams, that every single time you went to sleep at night, you could go and experience whatever it is you wanted to. And we assumed that you could spend, like 80 years worth of a lifetime in your dreams, right? I don't know how real or how extended the time dilation of the dream space is, but in his analogy, he gives a metric like that of like experiencing a significant amount of time every single time you go to sleep. And in this significant amount of time, you end up experiencing nigh everything, right? All of the things you have ever hoped for, all of the fun things, all of the love you want to experience, all of the good food, all of the places, etc., 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 right? Just keep adding more stuff in your mind of what you think you want to see. And then eventually, you reach a point where you have seen everything. And in doing so, something strange arises. Because the next night you go to sleep, you dream about being yourself again. Experiencing this life. Experiencing the uncertainty of your next moment to moment. Right? So to, again, condense it, even if you had the power to experience all of existence in your dreams, eventually you'll end up dreaming that you are yourself. Right? And that to me is a pretty surreal way of thinking about our existence. And I thank good old Alan Watts for bringing that into our minds. Sending him blessings. I honestly don't know what my love language of receiving is. That seems to be problematic. Yeah, I seem to be very time oriented. You spending time with me is the thing I appreciate the most. I think second to that, it's probably status of like you being like Melt is good guy, right? That I probably rank as second most important. Third most important is gifts, right? You going out of your way to give me something that you think I would like receiving. Then it's money. It's a resource we apparently need. What's the last one? The last love language? Intimacy. Yeah, I guess it depends, right? Like I will give you a hug when we meet each other, but I don't think I wouldn't exactly take you giving me a oh, this is exactly what I needed. It's like if someone hugs me, I'm still very far away. And they need to like use a different stick of leverage, right, to try and poke whatever inside. Interesting, huh? Is time as close to the inside as it gets, or does time disappear the deeper you get? I think yes. Yeah, totally. Na, 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 na. The more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become. As pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. Yeah, that is that is true. And even though I do agree, I agree fully, in fact, with what you're saying. Uh, it's a loop. I think that's the perfect way to kind of like transition into what I want to say next. It is a loop, Zano, and different people have different loops of pursuing feeling better, right? One of the loops that I am particularly expecting or experiencing is the correct word right now is the fact that there are things that I want and cannot get because I do not have the finances to. And the only way for me to is to pursue, right? To pursue something. However, when motions and emotions come into the fray, pursuing that, you end up becoming like a victim to your own want, right? As you said, oh, I'm pursuing happiness. Actively telling yourself that you are not happy, right? And it's not like I don't have money, I say, knowing that I might have enough money to, if I didn't get anything else, eat for a month and a half, right? So, and that's fine to me. I can eat for a month and a half, right? That's more than I experienced the whole of 2021, right? There, if not for the help of my friends and my family, I would not eat anything that entire year. And it's a trip to see how I don't think making more money ever changes this loop for me, right? So the thing that I am trying to establish in myself is not letting myself start getting caught in that loop, not letting myself get caught in that loop, and instead redirecting myself into realizing how much I have to be grateful for already, right? That yes, I would like more resources to buy more tools, and in doing so, the more tools I have, the better of a space I can create for you, friends. And in doing so, maybe uh, you would be more willing to spend time in this loop, right? And that's the thing that I am painfully aware of as well. Is like, in comparison to what's standard in the industry right now, I'm falling short, right? And I'm aware of that in in my loop. That's the thing, right? The only time it hurts is when I put myself in that loop of like, yeah, self comparison. I need to be improving, and then it's like, hey, bro, it costs money to improve things. Oh, man. Then I'm looping all the way over. And it's exhausting. It is a little bit exhausting. It doesn't serve me. Doesn't make my life better. Does it? Nope. Checks out doesn't make my life better. It stresses me out. How do how do I am enviously thinking about the Renaissance period, where artists were literally just sponsored by extremely rich families to make art. And when I say sponsored, I mean like these people had more money than they knew how to use to make their art. And I fantasize about that all the time. all the time. And I don't know what I'm supposed to get better at. I don't know if I'm supposed to get better at A, convincing people to give me their money, all right, or B, become inventive enough to produce things that people want to give me their money for, or C, invent the things myself. Wait for technology to mature where I could invent things myself and not have money as a limitation. All right, and then there's like a another layer of myself that then argues the ethics of waiting. All right, is it ethical for me to just chill, to just wait until the technology that I have access to catches up with my ideas to use it? I'm putting myself in a loop right now, and it's not a bad one. It's just that I go, is it unethical? Is it? I mean, so basically, I'm arguing with myself. On the one side, there is the actual impact that you make in the world by showing up, by doing stuff, by applying energy to a certain loop, right? And then there is the fact that you are a human being in need of rest, in need of calm, and it's not something to be ashamed of. That you need to take your time. You want to come sit for me?
I just wanted to ask quickly. I was just asking if you would maybe drop her off at work tomorrow. You can use her car.
Okay.
She can't drive yet.
Yeah, mom is here at least again. She's out of the hospital, but she cannot drive. Okay.
So she can just.
I'm gonna come back and then fetch her again.
Yeah, but it won't be like full day or anything. She did incorporate for your stream times and everything. She spoke to them that while she's like this, she'll knock off like earlier.
Oh yeah. When is she starting over new place?
This is the new place.
This is the new place.
Yes.
Okay,
So
already.
it's gonna be close.
Okay, sweet, nice. Okay, yeah. I'm more than willing to.
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome, bro. And on the other hand, there is the fact that I am a person that needs rest as well, right? And there is a certain level of anxiety that a person experiences in not getting the job done, right? And I was like thinking about this yesterday, uh, watching a video of someone restoring an abandoned place, right? Like the place is, it used to be so beautiful, and just due to it being left neglected, it completely fell apart. And there was this water system, right, with these small little ponds kind of attached to it that used to feed into the home or to the home's garden watering system. And it looked rough. Like it looked really rough. It looked so rough. And I was watching this woman clean it all by herself. And I was just experiencing this sense inside of myself of like, if I was in that environment as like a passerby, right? Maybe I don't live there. Even if I live there, to be completely honest, I might look at that environment, that world, and be like, hell no, I'm not touching that. I'm just not gonna touch that. And I was asking myself, why? Why do I think like that? And the answer came up in me because I'm not used to having access to tools, or at least the tools that I might feel necessary. And in the video, she was, using the tools that she needed to use to make the most of her environment and the experience. And like, I was comparing in my mind how the work she was doing in comparison to having just a shovel, right? versus not having a shovel, being a person versus obstacle versus a person with a shovel versus obstacle. And the difference it makes in the experience of you doing the work, the difference it makes in how fast the work gets done, the difference it makes in the amount of damage and wear you take in the process of getting the work done. So, yeah, which is less ethical, uh, frustrating yourself to the point of cortisol, right, releasing in your brain, causing inflammation in your cells, or is it more unethical to let the people you want to help wait? Experiencing the side of the fractal where somebody is starving right now or drowning right now, and me being so nonchalant about patience, being willing to wait seems a little bit of a loop that I'm throwing myself for. Oh. And she is here, bless you. John's mom in the hospital? She was. She is back home now at least. She's already feeling a little bit better. She's recovering. Some of your friends are like, what happened, Meld? With all of the coughing, there was like another strain of the vid or something, going through. And we were coughing a lot, and Itani was coughing a lot as well. And as she was coughing over and over again, she ruptured the spot on which her appendix was removed. And it would like rupture a little bit, and then it would bleed, and then that blood would solidify and callus a little bit, and then it would happen again, and it would happen again, and she had like basically blood calluses on her intestine, and fortunately she felt the discomfort of it, went into the hospital, had an ultrasound done, I believe, and then got her operation. Wham bam, it's done now. She's back home. Love is true. It was a stress, definitely. Like John was losing his mind a little bit. One of the worst things for a masculine identified entity to deal with is feeling completely out of control. Worse than that is feeling out of control of the well-being of those you love. So, fortunately, the Tanya is all right. She's back home. Things are going to be fine. I don't know, lack of it in the first place. From the Christian perspective, I have been freed from the anxiety, and to go back to it is to not believe. Lately, I've been catching myself with, you don't have to have this thought anymore. Yeah. That's like you ripping loops out of yourself. Good job, Sam. 'Cause I know I love that. Thank you for being in here. Love is true. Sure, would be great for someone to come help chop this wood and carry water. Yeah, most like that. Dog, the stepdad. My stepdad's love language is acts of pizza. Do you have one like that? Very good thoughts. If someone bought me a totally random and unexpected pizza I had nothing to do with, I might just cry a little. I mean, that seems so easy, right? You can make Duck Dad so happy. Tell me where you live, bro. Tell me where you live. I want to know where you live. I don't know why I'm making it weird. I'm sorry. I want to like send you a pizza, bro. Like that's easy peasy, dude. I can do that. I can do that from here. I'll probably cry a little bit when I realize what they charge for pizza in America, but I'll do it. I'll make you cry all the way from here. That sounds fun to me. Well, it turns out my 14-year-old dog Zoe thinks cicadas are delicious. Instantly, my mind flashes to a video of a doggo like laying on the grass, and there's just like screaming coming from its mouth. And that's a cicada out of his mouth, obviously. And the person pries the cicada out of it. Awesome, we just figured you out. Acts of food altruism. Sam, I read that as food autism. Also acceptable in this situation. Does work. Don't thank me. That's Alan Watts backwards law. I'm not thanking you because I think it's you who gave me that information. I'm thanking you because you brought that information to us in this moment. Right? It's like it's like a reminder, and I'm thanking you for that. So I'll thank you, Zano. Don't you tell me to not thank you. I'll thank you harder. Beep beep, hey Shabbat. It's nice seeing your name here with us. Definitely don't stop pursuing stuff. Just always remember that accepting the negative should always take precedent. Yeah. I know I do. I try to do that. And with some things it's easier than others. Right? With some things it's easier than others. There's a certain impatience in me when it comes to the material. Right? And I think, honestly, it's actually maybe one of my faults. Because I'm very patient when it comes to people. I'm pretty patient when it comes to technology. I'm very impatient when it comes to wanting, right? Specifically, so material stuff, like a piece of technology or a tool or maybe even an experience, right? And I think it's because I kind of dissociate a little bit from it, right? The fact that I can use a bunch of number and then get a piece of metal that has been shaped very specifically to have a purpose, right? This is a tool in my world. The numbers mean exponentially less to me. And the numbers mean exponentially less to me, exponentially, as I continue with time as well, right? As in, spending the cash, I would want to be able to spend the cash without even thinking about it, right, in the first place. And then even after I've spent the cash, I don't think about it. And then I end up thinking about it less going forward indefinitely as well. And then it goes into a negative where I almost like get aggressive. And I say aggressive kind of like liberally, aggressive from the perspective of I get touched or all riled up by the fact that we value money as much as we do in comparison to the things that is actually of value, right? How money is one of the things that stands in between our relationships with people in so many ways, right? And that causes me great anger. It's extremely insightful that you can see that there are layers to that process, Melt. Oh yeah. I'm like an onion. I instantly had to go straight Shrek. I have to. Meltmores are like onions. You see, Zana. You peel back a layer and there's more there's more layers. It just keeps going layers. I'm going to partake of more hella jelly. This hella jelly is absurdly powerful to the point where it kind of devastates me. But it is a sativa at least. So it's kind of like I'm very blazed. Uh, but nobody told me. I was like, I'm super blazed right now, but nobody tell Mel that he's super blazed right now. And that's kind of the experience. That's the experience that I get at least. No. And it smells amazing. It does. I don't know if jelly is an apt description by itself. Imagine if you had like grapefruit. Maybe grapefruit and pineapple. Grapefruit and pineapple jelly as a flavor. And then you like, as you were walking past the jelly while it was still hardening, you like spilled a single sip of like Monster Energy drink into that jelly. That's kind of what this smells like. At least to me, that's kind of what this smells like. It tastes very similar as well, but it is just very strong. Like looking at the budsicles by themselves as well, they are so pretty. They are so very pretty. One of the things that I really like doing when I go through this process is acknowledging the fact that what's in here used to be on a plant somewhere, right? Just taking up space and time. The wind makes it sway a little bit. The sun, as it comes over, is hitting this little nug's face in different places. And then at the end of that plant life cycle, instead of letting it go to waste, instead of letting it fall to the ground and be eaten by the worms, we took it off. We dried it properly, and thanks to the sharing of the joint, now it's here with me. And I get to experience the life of this plant. All of the complexity, all of the depth, all of the love. Thank you, Mama Gaia. Thank you, Mama Gaia. My intention is gratitude. I will let myself loop so deeply into gratitude that there will be nothing left for me to complain about. The grapefruit is very present as well when you're actually vaping it. More so than the pineapple flavor. I don't know how they, or how this strain manages to get that like almost like gelatiny flavor as well. It's always something to complain about. And yet there's always something to be grateful for as well. Both of these statements are true, independent of each other. Right? And I believe it's just a matter of realizing what loop you're putting energy towards. Thank you for your gift membership, Jobot. Thank you, Gobbledygook. For becoming a member, bro. I was actually thinking about you today. Thinking about you, about Melita, about Lamazana, and Aaron, and Jovan. Like I can keep going, but maybe I should even, take a proper moment to like read the names individually. It might be a little bit awkward, bro. The friends supporting me on Patreon. I look forward to 20 years from now. We've made it. We're in some sort of artistic environment. There's beautiful music playing. There are beautiful people connecting, having conversations with one another. And we're having a conversation, or we're having a conversation with someone new. And me being able to point to you friends and being like, yeah, this friend has been supporting me for the last 20 years of my life. Since before, anybody knew that Melt was making art, these friends were literally supporting it. And I fantasize about that future a lot. And all of you friends are a part of it. So thank you. Thank you, Gobbledygoo, for making yourself a part of it, bro. You are so loved. So very loved. Because of my anxiety issues, Nancy says, and trying to manage that, I only smoke weed in small amounts in the wee hours if I can't go back to sleep. Their message came through at 444. Nancy, does it help only then? For me, it depends on what I smoke, I've noticed at least. Depending on the strain. Like, for instance, this morning, I was like, I would offer for you to smoke, bro, but I know you don't smoke during the day. That's kind of like how the exchange went. And I already had bud crushed in my grinder. And then when I smelled the bud, I smelled that it was that GMO smelling bud, that Martin gave me. And I know the effects of that bud on my system. It's a very like a, right? But I don't want to feel, first thing in the morning or second thing in the morning, whatever, alright? Like we were up for like an hour and a bit at that point. So I transferred all of the little crushed budsicles that I had into a different little container, and I looked through the bud I had, right? And I made a decision based upon how I wanted to feel. And in picking the nug, like, and I picked one of these nugs, weirdly enough, I was like, yes, I feel this sense of mental euphoria, but nobody told my body or my mind that I'm necessarily just high, right? Like, goofed or zonked, however you want to say it. And I was like, this is nice. And in feeling that, knowing I'm going to vape a little bit with you friends on stream, I got myself another one of those little nugs. I was like, yeah, you're coming with me. Your hair looks good. Thank you, bro. I need to probably wash it again tomorrow. But this is like one of my last days of like natural oils building up. Thank you for the compliment, bro. Well, that's true about the strain of weed and anxiety for me too. I just have to approach with caution. Can't always risk it. I get you, Nancy. I get you. I'm happy that we have these sensitivities. That's where my mind goes when we have these conversations. Of like, we can know ourselves. And we can respect that knowledge. Or we can choose not to. And there are loops to be experienced depending on which side of the fractal you gravitate towards. I am ready to pull a card with you, friends. See what sacred geometry is going to say for us today. Loops. The loops. Oh my. We're going to probably be looping a lot going through life. I don't think that's going to stop. But we can choose not to start. That is the wisdom for today, I believe, at least. I think that's what I'm trying to take away. I was noticing myself starting loops over and over again today and getting caught in them and being like, interesting. How about this? Consequences of my own actions. We all have legal weed. It's either too strong or full of dead spores. So lots of people are quitting because of health reasons. Don't legalize it. Orange? I mean, I don't think not legalizing it is the answer either. South Africa completely legalized it, right? There is no medical market. There is technically no legal market to sell in either. The only way there can be an exchange of value in South Africa is if you pay for the labor, right? You cannot pay for the weed. And we have better weed here in South Africa than, I could have imagined, now that I get to experience some of the good stuff as well. And yeah, on top of that, with it completely being legalized, every single person in South Africa is allowed to grow their own weed as well. So that's an option for you at least. Dead spores and weed, yeah, maybe like she's talking about like mildew or like bud rot, or like bud that is a little bit moldy but kind of just goes without being noticed. Maybe it gets stopped or dried out, or I don't know either. I'm pretty well, Sam. A bit of depressive loop lately, but I know I'll get better. How are you? I was talking a little bit about that today, actually, Gab. My depressive loop comes from an insecurity. That is the ground emotion that I'm noticing is generating those feelings. So I don't know if it's the same for you. Here, illegal weed is cheaper than buying it in the store. Yeah, because some dude was growing it, right? And just wants to give you this thing that you want. I haven't pulled this card in forever. And it's not orange, but it is beautiful. Infinity symbol. Infinity symbol. Infinity symbols. There are mermaids and dolphins and a whale and her calf. Infinite wisdom. Infinite wisdom. Loops. We were talking about loops, right? That is literally a loop. It's not a circular one, but it's a loop nonetheless. Things have been pretty wild for me, yo. I'm sorry to hear about the depressive loop. I think that's what we're talking about today. If you'd like to turn your laundry basket out for us, that is what we're talking about today. So I did kind of prompt me like, hey, tell us. But I have to. I'm just telling you what I'm feeling. So maybe there can be a feeling of like synchronicity there, or yeah, yeah, me too, Mel. And then we can both feel less alone, or whatever's all right. Parasocial relationships, am I right? The amount we grow can't get through its process without mold. So they run it through giant microwaves that still leaves the spores. Not good for smoking. I mean, uh, I'm sure that in some cases that is the case, but if you do it right, that shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't be an issue. But I get what you're talking about. Like if you have poor practices, that would be an issue. But again, realistically, and with the market being as big as it is already, you won't get to sell your product if it is contaminated as well. At least that's the way I understand it from the regulatory side. Because again, these companies that sell the bud want bud that people are gonna come back and buy. Right? They want to sell all of it. They want to buy a lot of it, and then they want to sell all of it. That's their business model. So if they buy a bunch of moldy bud and a person smokes it, and especially, I mean, I am pompous in saying this, but I will know. I will know. I will 100% know if this bud was molded. You know, like it might not be molded right now, but I will know because there is a clear flavor difference. Clear. Like this, something changes chemically inside there that you can taste. So I won't come back and buy more of that bud, right? I will not come back to get some more. So yeah, like I don't want to say you're wrong, Zano, but I want to say that maybe uh, you're not completely right. That it could be true in certain case scenarios, but it doesn't paint the full picture of the entire industry as it is right now. I could relate to the insecurity too, wanting to be more successful, more social, more traveled, blah blah blah. Yeah, me too. Me too, gobbledygoose. Me too, bro. That's exactly what I'm tripping out about. Like, where more success, where more travel, more travel, where more social, and where more tools. Right? That's the other one for me. Right? Want more tools so I can make more success, so that I can make more social and more travel. Right? And then it's like, okay, yeah. And then I get there, I get the tools, I get the more travel, the more social, the more success, and then again, I'm like, huh, how about this loop I keep pushing myself into where I don't feel successful enough, and I don't feel I'm socialized enough, and I don't feel I've traveled enough. And then I make more money and I buy more tools, and then we start the whole loop all over again. Yeah, round and round. Why do we do this to ourselves, bro? We deserve some lovins. Can we just like put some arms around ourselves? I know it might be cringe. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe someone's gonna look at you. Let them. Let them just put some arms around yourself and be like, yo, I love you myself. Thank you for bringing me as far as you have. You have succeeded. You are so successful. Look at you. Look at you living. So success. Great. You're so great. So... Stop. There was a part of me that was like, yeah, now I'm gonna mess with him. He's like feeling too good about this. No, Melty. Wait a second. Speaking of Joy Vive, how long did it take for Zoloft to start working? I'm asking because you mentioned you were taking it in a previous Melt stream. Nancy, this is my mind being like, actually, but uh, compounds affect every single person differently. So, even if Joy Vive gives you an exact number, if she could tell you an exact number of how long it took for the medication to start doing what she wants it to do, it might not be true for you. It might never start doing it. It might start doing it tomorrow. The nature of our biochemistry is an enigma. There is infinite wisdom at play. And if we can continue breathing and be patient, I do believe the next 10 years will do more for us in medicine than the literal entirety of our medical history before the next 10 years come in. And I will stand by that. Quote me 10 years from now. Quote me. Quote me like that. Quote me. I'm telling you, AI. This is like a reminder, actually. AI reminder. Please quote me 10 years from now. Remind me. Be like, hey, Mel, remember. I think I've laid down enough code prompts. Please. Please, no, Melty. The Canadian government is corrupt, and you're doing a good job at making everyone quit smoking weed because they're always been the end goal. Hey Google, can you legally grow your own weed in Canada? Adults can possess up to 30 grams legally produced cannabis. Adults can grow up to 4 cannabis plants per household. Yeah, well, in that case, Zano, if your citizens are quitting weed because the government weed is bad, and you can grow 4 plants for yourself in your home, and your option is to quit instead of just growing for yourself, I don't actually feel bad. I'm sorry, but I don't, you know, like I just don't. Grow some weed for yourself. It will literally change your life. It will make you feel more connected to the earth. Oh, Mel, but I don't have the time. Most of the work it does itself. It just grows. It's just like, and we live in a world where we now can legally grow for ourselves. Don't don't quit weed. Quit government. Government weed, government cheese. How about that? Yeah, like when I think of government weed, I imagine vials of distillate. That's what I think government weed is gonna be. Just vials of distillate, you know. Terpeneless, flavorless, soulless distillate. That's government weed in my mind. A few days, but we're all different. Sometimes you have to try a bunch of different ones before you find the right one, or a combination of things that work. There we go. Bless. Thank you, Javiv. I'm happy that we both basically gave the same answer. It is so complex. I wish, and I want to actually, Nancy, offer true help. I would like to have like a whole model, like a whole clinic even, where you can go have your DNA analyzed, have your brain scanned, and then get tailored medicine. I don't know if I'll be able to jump through the regulatory loops that's going to be required of people to do stuff like that. But that is something that I had an ambition to do when I was still in the fractal of like chemical engineering. Like, yes, chemical slash bioengineering. But maybe someday. Maybe like my 200-year-old curve. I'll get freaky with it. Zoom, 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 zoom. And there we go. I have plenty of tools. Time seems to be the issue. Having to work full time just to afford to survive impedes my progress in becoming an electrical engineer. So, are you studying online? Do you have savings? Is there any capacity for you to earn money online? These are the questions I have. You don't have to answer me, of course, but this is gonna be me trying to convince you to come and live in South Africa. Have you considered? Have you considered, Gab, coming and living in South Africa? You know, cost of living is cheaper here. You know, and again, if you're earning money online in America, you'll be a baller. You won't struggle to make a living. You'll straight be baller. You'll get to buy a house even, you know, with your minimum wage salary. Legit, if you're working at McDonald's and you're earning $7.25 an hour, you can buy a house in South Africa with your current salary. No jokes. No, I'm not joking. I'm serious. It's kind of wild. Also, I'm not taking it for depression, so it's a completely different experience this time around. My anxiety was raising my blood pressure, causing stomach problems and horrible sweats, and just generally ruining my life. I'm so happy that you found something that helps. Bless you, Joy, and bless the modern medical system. Lots of people don't know how to grow, for sure that's the option, but if their first experience back on the horse is a nasty, moldy thing that is told to them is perfect and untainted, that's why they would. Then why would they grow? I mean, again, right? That just seems like an unfortunate fact of our current state of humanity. You know, sometimes this certain level of like right. If I don't get good weed, right? If suddenly all of the bud I get shared, it like doesn't taste nice, there is no other thing for me to do than grow it for myself. And I have like a whole little thing of seeds. Right? You could say I'm collecting them. You shouldn't. I don't think they actually collect well, and I know that, and I'm okay with it as well. Love is true. Nobody knows how to grow things. Like I didn't know how to grow weed when I started. I planted my first seed when I was 16. That's a decade ago. And it's only, weirdly enough, this year that I feel I actually got my first really good weed. Like actually good. With my curing process, with like when I harvested, like step by step by step. I hit so many vectors of like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. So it took me a decade, right? But that's gonna stop me. And if it stopped me, I wouldn't get to experience what I'm experiencing right now. And I can blame the government, or I could blame myself. Alright. Don't blame the weed. Weed is just plant. Weed is just a plant. Earn money and go to class. IRL. Yeah, that would actually be the best fractal, especially for engineering, dude. Yeah, like I'm kind of like skimming over it, but kudos to you, Gabri. Being an engineer is no joke. Like no joke whatsoever. It's it's probably in my mind the equivalent of chewing glass. Yeah. And then after you've like chewed glass for a long time, you get this piece of paper that ups your earning potential, one, and fortunately, for you to be able to chew glass like that, you also have to either have, which I believe Gobbledygoo already does, have critical thinking skills, or you at least get forced to develop critical thinking skills. So this will serve you, bro. I'm so proud of you, man. Keep going. Keep going. You got this. Maybe same here. I'm actually kind of surprised we have the same symptoms. Ermani go. We could be anxiety buddies then. Dude, reach out. Maybe you can help each other. A glass of wine at a restaurant is $80. A pack of smokes is $25. Both of those I'm okay with. You know, because alcohol is bad for you, no matter at what quantity you drink it at. Unfortunately, like alcohol is bad for you even when you put it on your hands as a hand sanitizer, right? And like if you think about the amount you put on your hand versus the amount you put down your face in drinking alcohol, alcohol is very bad for you. Good. They should ask $180 per glass of wine. Stoking the fire, Stokes fire more. And the pack of smokes needs to be $250 as well, right? If you want to give yourself cancer, you have to like really, really want to. Like you should really want to, because cigarettes are also like of zero value to your system. Very bad for you. It's a means of control. That's why they call it a control board. Even though I get what you're saying, Zano, your country, I do believe I might be capping. Let me do some research quickly. Hey Google, how does Canada rate for the world's best medical care? Oh, how about that? Reported According to reports published by the World Health Organization in 2023, Canada is rank 1, followed by Iceland, South Korea, Singapore, and United Kingdom in healthcare coverage. Number 1, right? So if you live in a country that prioritizes the health of their people, and you as a country pay for the insurance and for the medical care of your people, them putting alcohol and cigarettes into their body makes it more expensive to take care of them, right? Again, they should actually make it $1,800 per glass of wine and $2,500 per cigarette. One cigarette, $2,500. I know I'm really stoking the flames, and I am kind of joking, a little bit. Yeah, like perspective, Zana. Perspective is very important. I hear if I get an internship, this which would relocate me for 6 months. It's a mechanical engineering gig, but it's with a good semiconductor firm, and it still be a good for my career, bro. Bro, chacho, working in semiconductor industry, like even remotely, right? Even with like binoculars, working in the semiconductor industry would be great for your career. Bless you, bro. If I get an internship, I see you getting the internship, bro. I see you being like super stoked, big ass smile on your face, getting to relocate, getting to see a new world, maybe having some integration feelings, but still growing as a person as a result of it. You see it? Good. It will happen. That's not encouraging, Mel. That was the read 10 years to grow good weed. I know, but again, for me, the most enjoyable part of the last 10 years is growing the weed. That was the most enjoyable part. There is a certain somber, a certain mourning of your weed maturing and coming to a point where it needs to be harvested. Otherwise, it will turn brown and lifeless. Right? So for me, if I could just have this indefinite budding out of aroma explosioning, like that would be my ideal weed plant, but that's not how it works. Right? So the growing part is what's fun. Even if you fail, you just learn, right? You either learn or you win. Those are your options. Those are the loops you technically have to participate within. I can't even imagine what the state of the world would be without engineers. My brother is an engineer, and I can tell you my world would be significantly worse if I didn't have him in my life. So yeah, Melt, of course, is bad for you, but please tell me you agree that people should be free to make their own choices. Yeah, but again, Zano, they aren't. We live in a society. We live in a world that have, since our inception, since our births, since our eyes have opened and had the wherewithal to notice patterns, have been shown alcohol ads of people being like, oh, yummy, I feel so great. We've been inceptionized. People smoking cigarettes in movies being super cool. Right? You want to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol because it's been normalized, right? If it was normalized to snort cyanide, because it gives you a buzz, I don't think people should have the choice to do so. No, because again, it's not a choice. It shouldn't be a choice. There are better choices to make, right? If you want to have an experience, right? Vape some weed instead of drinking alcohol to experience the buzz, or smoking cigarettes to get that nicotine for a little bit as well, right? There are alternatives. There are other choices to be made, all right, that are proven, medically proven, to be better for your well-being. And I feel, again, the only reason those choices are available is because we've been misinformed, and we're not anymore. And people are stupid, Zano, and people will continue hurting themselves despite getting the correct information. So sometimes something needs to change. Our society, what we tolerate as fine, as our society needs to change. And I think the fact that we tolerate people smoking and drinking excessively, constantly, is not something we should be okay with as a society, regardless of whether or not it's your free choice to do so. It's some person's free choice to hurt their pet as well. There's a little lizard coming up close to me. We shouldn't be okay with their free choice to hurt their pet, right? And I can feel your friends being like, where are you going with this, Mel? You are your own pet. This thing is your pet, right? If you found out someone was giving their cat beer every night, right, forcing it to drink beer every night, you would call the SPCA being like, this person is abusing their cat. However, we are like 100% okay with people doing it to themselves, right? That's the point I'm making. So I'm not opposed to people having their choices taken away. I am pro people being given better choices to make, right? Better options, like a better world kind of vibe, like more love, right? Because again, the alcohol industry doesn't love you. The cigarette industry doesn't love you. They know the stuff they're selling you is literal poison. They know that. They know that 100%. There's no confusion in them about that. At least the people that I've met, every single person that I've met that grows weed has a sense of, this is a flower. This is a plant. right? And you can see the excitement in their hearts of having grown this plant, of them telling you about it, of them telling you how they've grown it, of the techniques they use, of the seed, of where they found the seed. Like there's so much passion and soul in the creation thereof. Maybe someone can have that level of passion for making their own homegrown, homebrewed beer, but I've never, not once, drank homebrewed beer. And I've drank a lot of beer in my life, right? Relatively speaking, as opposed to none. Uh, so I'm not saying that you're gonna drop dead and instantly die if you drink this poison. No, your body will try and cope. Your liver will literally be like, okay, boys, we're doing nothing else now but processing this toxin. And then it does that until it's been processed, right? And then people keep drinking so the processing doesn't stop. And then that whole desolation you feel the next day is because of all of the kind of like kickoff compounds, toxins that gets produced with the alcohol mixing with your system. It's such a trip. It baffles my mind. It baffles my mind that we can find this stuff available for purchase. That people are using their money to buy the stuff. Never mind even that it's available for purchase. It does mess with me even. Like confuses me. From like a parental concern perspective, right? Like if I had a child and I see them getting extremely obsessed about cosmetics, and they like throw temper tantrums if I don't allow them to swipe my credit card so they can buy a new hat for their character, I would be concerned. I'd be like, this is concerning behavior. How do we course correct? And in the same way, and this does sound pompous just in thinking it, I know, there is this level of concern in my heart for humanity, again, with what we have normalized. The fact that alcohol is so normalized, I think, is the biggest shackles around our feet. Let's put down this fractal and continue moving. I already work at this semiconductor firm, just not doing what I want or making enough Daras. I mean, bless you double then, bro. Then you already have a foot in the door, which is even better. Zano, one of my favorite quotes from Stephen King is, "You can have whatever you want and pay for it." Yeah. Lol, I know you're joking. You're a little stink bug. I mean, I have been vaping stink bug weed as like straight stink bug flavor, so maybe there's like little stinky bugness that needs to be expelled with me poking some buttons. But I am kind of serious, still a little bit, kind of infinite wisdom. No, because surely you aren't saying the government should give away cigarettes and alcohol to the public for free. You can have those things for a cost, and that's the same everywhere. Yeah, exactly. Joy, you're a consultant. Joy, a consultant, told us that a former job I was at wasn't quoting Stephen King. Can't imagine a world without engineers. Love is true. No, I'm not talking about the individual. Of course, people have bad choices, but that's not what I'm talking about. When there's when there's a means of control, there's a way for people to abuse those powers. I know you were talking about it from the other side of the perspective, but controlling the masses is a slippery slope, well documented throughout history. And this I agree with, Zano. But if you trying to control the masses into doing less alcohol and cigarettes, I kind of approve. I think it's a good thing. I think this is a good use of control. Because they are in control, Zano. We are using the currency that they're printing more of right now. Right? Just think about that. Like, in the hour and 19 minutes we've sat here and had a conversation, more money was printed than all of us combined that was here for the stream could spend in our lives. Right? Like, just take a moment to appreciate the fact that that's what's happening. Right? Like, if we're going to talk about control, we're going to go deep. Because I agree. Like, the biggest thing that we have been controlled to believe is that money is freedom. Right? So, again, if people need to pay more of this money to do things that are bad for them, then I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. In fact, in my mind, it sounds empirically good. Oh, a consultant at a former job told you that, but wasn't quoting Stephen King. I am still just as confused. People could argue that abortion is bad for you, doesn't mean they shouldn't have the ability to choose. That's an intense example, but bigger picture is needed. I mean, again, it can also be bad for you to be forced to mother a child that you do not have the financial resources, the time, the capacity, the wherewithal, the support network, etc., to as well. So even though that is an extreme example, I still think it's a bad one, right? Like, there is no value, like no value whatsoever to be had in a cigarette, right? And I can feel like people being like, "Oh, Mel, but I smoke cigarettes to get a break from my job." Again, the value is the break. The cigarette is not a value, and the fact that your job is not giving you breaks is again the thing that we need to be paying attention to. Coffee started getting basically prescribed to us on a company level to make us more productive as a people. Like, again, we're talking about control here. Have we been controlled to consume more caffeine? Or have we normalized consuming it and now we don't even have to be controlled? We're just doing it to ourselves. That's the point I'm making. It's like we normalize things as a society and then we do that. Whatever that thing is. And we need to start getting a little bit more cognizant about the loops we normalize. That's the slippery slope I'm talking about, that I feel I try to be very vigilant about in myself. And I know it's unreasonable for me to expect society at large to take up arms and do that work as well, but I'm not going to say I disagree necessarily with the whole alcohol and cigarettes fractal alone, at least. I believe all substances need to be legalized and made a part of a system where there's proper quality control, right? Proper quality control, proper education about what these things do to you, about the effects thereof, about the potential for abuse, about the consequences of abuse. And in the same way, I believe people need to be given choices, Zano. I think that's very important. But as a part of these choices, we also need to have some sort of system in place that monitors the well-being of our people, right? And this can sound very Orwellian, 1984, but the way I see it is not like a complete surveillance as much as it is we make the systems available that provide these resources to people that want to make the choices they want to make. And if we notice you're starting to take up arms, you're starting to use this compound in a way that is indicative of abuse, we can actually have systems in place that help our individuals, that try and steer them in the right direction, that maybe notice a certain abuse pattern and reach out to them and try to find the cause of their abuse, try and find what it is in their lives that they don't find satisfying or fulfilling enough, where this thing adds a certain level of a crutch, right? Like, that's the way I see the future. Right now, there is this complete reckless abandon of our people, right? Like the police, for example. I do not even for a little bit, not even remotely, not even for a second, think about the police and feel a sense of safety, feel a sense of being served and protected, feel a sense of I can rely and trust these people to take care of me if there is some sort of criminality happening. Like there is no trust whatsoever in me, right? And yet, the government and the police that is attached to them has a monopoly, technically, on that violence, right? On that ability for a person to do this in front of my car, and then I, by law, have to pull my car over, right? Like it is absurd. It is absurd the amount of control we allow. And that's the thing is again because we've normalized it. But we don't even have to be controlled right now. It's just the way it is to so many people. And the fact that we're just echoing that it's just the way it is. It's been this way the whole time. Why change it? It's working. That's the true control we're under. Right, and alcohol, no drug, is going to necessarily change that. I think if it would have already. I think the next fractal of like interconnection and intercommunication amongst our people, amongst our new sentiences that will live on this layer of our existence alongside us. That is probably going to shake things up properly. You know, like some people believe that the psychedelic revolution was going to be what we need to become awakened. But those people that were a part of the psychedelic revolution ended up American dreaming just as hard as everyone else. Or at least a lot of them did. I'm gonna stop going down this fractal. I feel like I'm looping. I am straight up looping right now. This is what it's like to loop. I shouldn't have started, but I should stop myself. What control? All of us can go out and buy all the cigarettes and alcohol we want. So where's the control? Yeah, agreed. It's easy to get into those substance loops, harder yet to abstain from them. Yeah. Now, going out to get an abortion is another story. At least in this country, they are trying to outlaw it completely. Along with birth control and divorce, they're trying to pass laws that women use to take pregnancy tests to travel so that they can't leave the state just in... What the fuck? Just in case they might want to go somewhere to get an abortion. It's scary. That is like some straight up... Like, Yossi. I'm... like something dangerous. Like I don't live in America, so there's nothing I can do. But goodness, like there's a vigilantism that becomes awakened and just thinking about like the level of injustice. No, you want to travel, women? How about you take this pregnancy test? Excuse me, what? Excuse me, what the fuck? What the fuck's wrong with you? It's proven that smoking cigarette makes a positive impact on lowering your risk of Alzheimer's. Maybe someone fears it their whole life because that decrease decimates their genetics at a young age. That disease decimates their genetics at a young age. Maybe that's why they smoke, because to them the risk is worth it. It's not up to the government to make the choice for them. Again, the cigarettes are not illegal, right? This like psychedelics are made to be illegal. And again, if your stress is Alzheimer's risk, then you need to be taking stuff that boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Cigarettes do not do that, right? In fact, cigarettes are actually a vasoconstrictor. So it will literally reduce the amount of blood flow you get to your brain. And it does that. Documented does that. I don't know how that helps with Alzheimer's. Maybe it like starves your neurons and then they like claw back some energy afterwards, and maybe that stimulation allows for like a degradation prevention. I don't know. I'm like basically spitballing at this point. However, when you take psilocybin mushrooms, there is a thing called brain-derived neurotropic factor that your body and brain produces naturally, and the markers that makes that brain-derived neurotropic factor go up all go up when you take psychedelics. So your brain literally starts producing new neurons and is has the resources basically to make new connections as dendrites between your neurons. So again, there are other options. There are other choices to make. And again, the fact that our governments restrict our access to these things as well. And I think actually, like in America, weed is now officially getting rescheduled, right, to be like Schedule 3. So even though control used to be a real thing, I think it's becoming less of a thing in some ways, and maybe more of a thing in others. And like it's those others that stress us out, right? And especially this fact that we're like reverting, like the whole like bodily autonomy thing. The fact that people want to, as a governmental entity, tell us what we can and cannot do with our bodies. That's the thing that I feel we should be like being like, what the fuck? Like it's the same thing with the substances. It's the exact same thing. Like nobody should be allowed to tell you what you can and can't do. Again, like there's an aspect of what's normalized, right? And I think that's something we as a society have to take responsibility for, what we normalize, because that's what people are gonna do. Like the fractal of asking yourself, if I do this, right? In the act of doing it, do I want to project this to the world and have the world act accordingly? And if you ask yourself that question as you act in the world, it's easier to act towards love, at least in my mind. That's why they smoke, because okay, hello, good morning, Shell. I was just thinking as I got launched into my day. Meltmore, thank you for this space. It grounded me, loved me, helped me for better me, made my friends, and made me enjoy my life more. We love you, Shell. Thank you for adding that energy for us as well. The cost is the control. It's okay. I think you're just misunderstanding me. I'm gonna stop. The cost is not a control. Again, all right? Like the fact that money is something we barter with, that is the control. Because the government have more money than they know how to spend, and then they ask for more money to spend, and even though they don't know how, the money disappears basically instantaneously, right? And if you look at the amount of money that has been siphoned from the people and been put directly in the pockets of corporations, like that's the part of the control that I am kind of agreeing with you about, Zano. Like the cigarettes and alcohol is like a very low dimensional perspective of a very big problem, right? Like that is not the problem. That is just a symptom of the problem. The problem is that we are controlled by money. We are controlled by this resource that allows us to purchase the resource that allows us to live. You know, you don't need cigarettes and alcohol to live. So there's no, I don't agree with you kind of vibes, because if they were trying to, and they are, right, like suddenly make the bread, you know, $25. Now you have to pay $18 a bread, right? That would be like, okay, you know, now they're trying to use their control to literally, you know, ruin our society. It hasn't gotten to that point yet, and I don't think it will. And again, right, like it is a fractal of the government and the rich already pay for insurance and security. It's a big part of their living expenses. And if people do not have jobs and cannot afford to eat, they'll have nothing to do but to revolt, let's say. It's a nice word. So it will become a part of their security and insurance expenses to make sure that our society doesn't fall apart. So I just got to my location for the day, hundreds of plants to dig out and transplant, which I love doing. For each plant has 20 or 30 cicadas on each. Are the plants getting eaten by the cicadas? If so, that sounds horrific. That sounds like straight up nightmare fuel, you know? If I was a plant, that would be my idea of a nightmare. In American corporations are rising the prices to unsustainable levels to force people back to work that left after COVID. It's very clear here. They will fail, bro. They will fail. Because eventually, bro, people will not have any money to continue purchasing your bullshit. Infinite wisdom, bro. We are literally making infinite wisdom right now. Whales are the denizens of the deep. Caretakers of oceanic wisdom and record keepers for planet Earth. They communicate by means of songs, stories, and telepathy. Whales remember how to travel with grace of movement over thousands of miles, following ancient migration routes. The 4 horizontal figure eights or Mobius strips suggest that their wisdom is greater than time and depth. It is infinite wisdom. Pulling this card could find you seeking a measure of wisdom to help you comprehend the situation. Control. Something does not make sense, and you are having a difficulty in understanding why events are occurring as they are. Quiet your thoughts and allow your consciousness to float in this fluid blue ocean. Tune into the wisdoms the humpback mother and calf embody. You may want to trace an infinity symbol on your forehead or palm, or move your hand in a figure eight motion. To help connect you with this infinite wisdom, telepathically plug in to the records kept by these magnificent cetaceans. Ask the infinite source to offer you the wisdom you require to bring greater understanding to your thoughts. If your inquiry is not one of confusion, this card confirms that you are indeed in touch with insight and good judgment, and you may be assured that your decisions will be sound. Celebrate your own wisdom. Celebrate your own wisdom. Do not let yourself get looped in again. And out again. And then in again. And then out again. Cicadas only feed on liquid. They take it from young trees and root systems when they're underground. Okay. So they're not devouring your plants. Good. So once they're in the trees, the one and only thing they need to do, or biologically compelled to, is to make that fucking noise. Yeah. I mean, technically, the noise is a precursor to the other thing they're biologically compelled to do. And it goes, bow, shika, bow, wow. So they go, ah! I'm sorry about that. I love you, friends. I'm gonna say goodbye. We had a fun stream. At least I enjoyed it. Thank you, friends, for joining me. Spending a moment in this loop. Looping around the other thing to work. Yeah. Yeah. You know, cicadas drinking. Honestly, the vice that I don't get is why a government would legalize gambling. Yeah. I mean, I know why. I know exactly why. And you're like, oh, do enlighten us, Melt. Because gambling, one, extracts extreme amount of wealth from people that have more of it than they know what to do with. Makes sense. People be like, And two, and I don't know if I can say this, necessarily speaking, but gambling and the industry attached to it is also a great way to fantastic. So great at doing that. So yeah, again, it makes perfect sense to me why they would do that. They just legalized sports betting in my state, ads for it everywhere. How is freedom to gamble benefiting anyone? Yeah, it's just extracting wealth from the most desperate amongst us, you know. And it's also like doing it in such a sinister way, where it's like telling you that it's gonna give you like free credit. Oh yeah, you get to gamble for free for a little bit. I mean, like all you have to do is like give us like a bunch of money, and then we give you a bunch of money, so you can lose all of it. It's great. Come on over, come and bet on sports, bro. Come on, do it. Any interchange of money provides an excuse to tax it. Interchange, yeah, that's the other fractal of like people that have more money than they know what to do with, losing it to the casino, and then the government getting to tax that casino. Said interchange mojo. We are a nation of pirates, and they will always look for a way to add their shares. Exactly, Sam. And it's shockingly transparent. It is disgusting. Which one he is doesn't know how to not corrupt when you do a government. Freaking disgusting. Alright. I appreciate you friends joining me. I hope you all have the most beautiful, splendor filled, free from loops day. One where you notice in your mind any course that's not going to serve you, and you don't even allow it to start. I appreciate you friends for joining me. Your days are getting shorter, Mel. It is getting a little bit deeper into winter. I do think so. The laws are on the books to protect them now. Why would the pirate lords of PNG and ExxonMobil need to hide? I think a reckoning is coming. Probably. That's why I think they need to hide. But I'm knitting! And that's literally all loops. That is kind of true. You see, the trick is not starting. But now that you've started, that means you can't stop. There you go, Sean. Until it's done, you're gonna have to keep looping. That is kind of the joke of today's stream of like, yo, there are many loops to be had, knitting included. The best way to not get caught in loops is to not start. And I'm not trying to encourage you to give up your hobby of knitting. I'm just making a joke, to make a point. Also, money. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That was what I was trying to say. Maybe you were only listening, Zana, but I was doing what we call stomstreken. I was doing like bodily cues. Yeah, exactly. Love is true. Thank you, friends. It's very hard to launder money. That's a movie fractal. That it is common. That's true, Joy Vive. But again, the way they do it in the, like, for instance, like I shouldn't talk about this stuff. I feel like I'm putting myself in immediate danger. Actually, I'm not gonna talk about. Loop if you have a reason and make a garment. Yeah. Loop if you have a reason and make something. Maybe that's the fractal. I love you, friends. Thank you for joining me again. I'll see you again soon. Tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.